It's time for Reason.
They are defining the dialogue. They are limiting the dialogue. They are the ones that are dictating to you what's acceptable and not acceptable as dialogue. Saying that that's a racist comment doesn't make it so, but as long as they say it, then all of a sudden now it's just by default accepted that it's a racist comment, and everybody has to go along with that mentality. When they say that socialism doesn't mean socialism, then we just all have to accept that, right?
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
Yeah, baby, welcome into the Voice of Reason on a Wednesday. It's a cool, dreary Wednesday. That's okay, though. Welcome in, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas. Right here on the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM. Simulcasting on TV as well, KGBT TV channel 2610. Good morning. Welcome aboard. What a morning it is. We are halfway through the week already. Can you believe it? After a Labor Day weekend, you already see the light at the end of the tunnel. The Kansas State Fair kicks off this weekend. We got some big news. We'll talk about some things happening up there as well. It's going to be a heck of a day, a heck of a week. And welcome into the show. 316-721-8255. 316-721-TALK. It is open lines to you. No guest. I take that back. We do have a guest today. Sedgwick County Commissioner Jim Howell will be joining us at 7:30, as we always love to do, talking about the county commission. A big county commission meeting coming up today. So we'll look forward to chatting with him in just about an hour and a half from now. But until then and after that, it's open line to you. No other guest today. Just you and I chitting the chat, advancing conservatism the way we love to do every single morning. We are on Facebook Live as well. Facebook.com/1480 KQAM. Go on to the feed, and I really appreciate it when you go on there, like it, share the Facebook Live feed onto your own page, and let's spread the word. Let's spread this out. I love going out and saying that people just heard about the show just on social media. I mean, how many people actually flip through the radio dials anymore? You find kind of what you like, and you kind of stick there. When you find a TV station that you like, you kind of stick there. And the people that do hang on with us every day, you guys are crazy, but I love you to death, and I appreciate that very much. Let's blast it out on social media. Let's make the awareness happen. We are the only local conservative talk show. We are the only statewide talk show. Statewide is in we talk about more state politics than anybody else, and we kind of kick ass at it. I'm just saying. At least we try to. So it's going to be a big show today. 316-721-8255. I need parental help for a second. Parental help. Last night, I got home a little late, ended up having a political event that I went to. We'll talk about that in just a minute because it was a really good event, and I'm really glad that I went, and I think that there's some really good information that came out of it, but got home a little bit later. Now, as you know, the fact that I'm up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, I try to go to bed relatively early, about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock-ish at the latest, just because of the fact that, you know, it's a very early morning. Got home last night right around 10:30-ish, which was fine because if I'm going to stay out late, it's going to be for political events. Ended up, having dinner, unwinding a little bit, fell asleep around 11 o'clock, and for the last few nights now, the little voice of reason hasn't been feeling too well in the throat. It's been kind of sore once in a while, and she just doesn't feel good and just kind of clingy and whatever, but she comes down about 1 o'clock in the morning and wakes us up and says she had a bad dream, and now this is daddy time. If you remember, I'm the grumpy one that gets, if I get woken up in the middle of the night, I don't like that very much. I get kind of grumpy, and I'm like, Isla, go to bed. It's okay. And now, come on, she's 4, I know the bad dreams, and we got to take care of her and kind of comfort her and do that whole thing. In the middle of the night, I have a hard time doing that. Now, the wife, she's really good. She gets up, and she gets her all tucked back in, and she gets her all cozy. But she's been having this trend lately to where if she doesn't feel good or she has a bad dream, she wants to curl into bed with us. And I'm like, it's time to go back to bed. And we didn't have her curl into bed with us last night, so she came down 3 times last night. At like 1, and then at about 2:20, and then at about 4 right before my alarm went off. And woke us both up all 3 times. And I'm just like, ugh. Now, if we would have put her in the bed with us at night, then she would have slept the whole night through because that's all she wanted. And that's what she wanted to do. So if we would have put her in bed, she just would have slept. If we continue to put her back in her own bed, then she's upset that she didn't curl into bed with us, and then she continuously wakes us up throughout the night. I don't know if any other parents have had this problem before. I was one to where I was just like, with my parents, they were like, yeah, no, you're not getting into bed with us, when you were a kid. Me or my siblings, none of us ended up doing that. On Tiffany's side, on my wife's side, that she was one. If she had a bad dream or whatever and she was young, she would go in and her parents would tuck her into bed with them there, and they'd sleep cozy and happy and warm and sound. I don't know. I don't know what the proper way to address this is, but 3 times last night. And it, of course, had to be the night where I got to bed a little bit later anyways. Not complaining at all. I don't know if it's like a phase. I don't know if it's that she just doesn't feel good. I don't know. Kind of interesting. So there's my little thing in the morning. It is kind of rainy and dreary. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe there were some storms last night, kind of booming and waking her up, because her room's upstairs right by the outside. I don't know what the deal is, but kind of interesting. Now she is 4 and she does get a little clingy, and I get it, and I like the clinginess. At the same time, Daddy likes to sleep. Daddy likes to sleep just a little bit. 316-721-8255. Nothing against it. And, my wife, I don't know how she does it, because she's the one that, gets up every night, once or twice at least, with the baby and gets her tucked in. If she has a sore throat, gets her some hot cocoa or gets her some hot tea and tries to get her something and gets her curled back into bed and gives her the medication and gets her all soothed and gets her comfy and gets her asleep again. And then she comes back down and tries to fall back asleep. And by that time, she's one of those to where when she's up and she can't go back to sleep. So I don't know how she does it. And she's got it way worse than I do. I'm the big baby that when I get woken up in the middle of the night, I'm like, go back to bed. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just one of those. 316-721-8255. Nothing wrong with it. It's okay. It's just, it was one of those nights to where it had to happen on that kind of night, right? Had to happen just like that. Big news coming in today. We have elections going on around the country. We have the elections going on here in Kansas, the public forum that happened last night. I'll talk about that in just a minute as well. I'm noticing, though, as I was doing some of the show prep, and what I wanted to talk about today was that there's an ongoing theme. There's an ongoing theme in Kansas. There's an ongoing theme really in the Republican Party across the entire nation. And it really is, what does the Republican Party actually stand for? Are we going to go conservative? Are we going to go moderate? Are we just going to go, let's just go with the breeze on whatever the wind's going to take us to today? I really don't know and understand what the party actually stands for at times. And it's a little frustrating. So we'll talk about where the party's actually going, the direction we're going, and who we're end up going to support and embrace as a party and as a movement and as a vision for the Republican Party. So that's coming up. Ayanna Pressley in Massachusetts ends up winning over Michael Capano, the 10-year incumbent Democrat in Massachusetts. Ayanna Pressley being backed by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and now they're making a big deal of the fact that she has been able to de-seat a 10-year incumbent in the U.S. House of Representatives, and she's not being challenged in the general election by a Republican. It's a very blue, deep blue state and deep blue district, and now they're saying that this is another victory for socialism because Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez ends up winning, quote-unquote, with her victor of an endorsement. Now, did the endorsement actually do anything or have any impact? I don't know. Maybe this individual, this Michael Capano in the Democratic primary, didn't campaign very hard, just like we saw in Alexandria Cortez's district in New York City. Maybe he didn't campaign very hard. Maybe he took it for granted. Maybe he's an establishment. Maybe he did something that was very, I don't know, maybe some kind of scandal that went on. I don't know the story of this guy. But Boston City Councilor Ayanna Pressley ends up unseating 10-year term U.S. Representative Michael Capano in a Democratic primary yesterday in the latest shakeup in the House Democratic caucus by far-left challengers. I'm almost wondering what the turnout is here. By the end of the night, Pressley had the lead by 10,682 votes, with 69% of the precincts reporting in late last night. So I don't know what the normal turnout ends up looking like. This could be one of those where they just want to change. And as we look at the changes in the Republican Party, what's the changes look like in the Democratic Party? I'm almost wondering now, as we're seeing some of these, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez coming into power Not yet, but at least, she's trying. And with this individual here, with this Ayanna Pressley, and now all the other endorsements that she's done out of like the 5 or 6, only like 1 or 2 have actually made it through the primaries. So there's that. I don't know how much impact she actually does have. They're probably giving her way more influence and way more authority over this than what she should, because who cares if she endorsed it or not? It's whether the campaign was how the campaign was actually done. How the campaign was actually done. I'm almost wondering, there's such an anti-establishment mentality universally in the country right now, Republicans and Democrats. The Republicans are tired of the establishment Republicans continuing on with a progressive agenda, increasing the size of government, increasing taxes, increasing spending, not getting a budget under control, not actually repealing Obamacare, not actually building the wall, not actually cutting taxes, not actually reforming social programs. We have a lot of issues that, as Republicans, we haven't done that they campaigned on saying that they were going to do. We're very frustrated. We're tired of the establishment. The Democrats are tired of the establishment just as much. The Democrats are sick of the establishment. They're tired of Hillary Clinton. They're tired of Nancy Pelosi. They're tired of Elizabeth Warren. They're tired of these. That's why you see individuals like, the ones that are grandstanding at the Kavanaugh hearings yesterday, trying to actually make a difference because they're looking at running in 2020. They're trying to be the new face. Now, they may have been in Congress for a long time, but you don't hear about them necessarily as much. They haven't been in the forefront of the politics and the media and the spotlight. They're trying to make the new face. The Democrats are just as sick of the establishment as the Republicans, which is why you've seen so many actually go towards the Bernie Sanders type movement in Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, because she is the socialist like Bernie Sanders, but she's not an 80-year-old guy that has white hair that's falling out and that is kind of past its prime. She's the new hip kind of, good-looking gal that's going to kind of bring in the new generation and rally people and get them all excited. She's the one that's going to, now she may be dumber than a box of rocks, but she at least is the young girl that's kind of getting the young generation all fired up and talking about some kind of new idea that is socialism. So the Democrats now are looking at just as many changes as Republicans. And I'm really going to lump it up to that. Does this mean that Alexadria Ocasio-Cortez has any influence? I don't think so. Why would her endorsement of Ayanna Pressley have anything to do with her victory other than like the socialists that are like, oh, hey, all right, they're kind of our crowd. But if you're a socialist, you already know you're a socialist, and therefore you're really not going to appeal to more socialists unless they're already socialists. You're not going to win over any more people just because of socialism. It's not going to happen. And moderate Democrats are like, we're staying away from this. So you had that primary last night. Ayanna Pressley ends up winning over a 10-year incumbent with no general election challenger going into November. So she will be a new congresswoman in Washington, D.C. That's a little concerning. Another socialist going in there, whether it's the campaign tactic, whether it was the money being sunk in, or whether it was the endorsement of Ocasio-Cortez. I don't know. But we need to look at the trends happening. Does this mean there's a blue wave? No, it stayed blue. It wasn't like she overturned a Republican seat. This is a deep blue state in a deep blue district without a Republican challenger in the general election. Tell me how the blue wave is actually happening. Tell me how this is actually showing that there's momentum in the Democratic Party. No, there's just a change in the leadership. There's a change in mentality in the Democrats. And for the Democrats, that's actually a very healthy thing at times. Now, for them, I say kudos to you and continue on this trend because socialism's really stupid. And the more people that you get in power trying to hype that up, the more you're going to fail. So all the power to you trying it. It's very cute, but it's not going to work. The mentality of the Democrats, does that lead to the mentality of the Republicans as well? I do want to talk about that coming up today. Plus, I do want to recap what I visited last night at the Kansas Farm Bureau. Ended up having a public forum or a candidate forum for a lot of the candidates in the area, House seats. All 3 lieutenant governor candidates were there last night with Wink Hartman and with John Dahl and with Lynn Rogers. So we'll talk about some of that. Some of the county commission candidates were there speaking as well. It was kind of a really fun event, really cool to listen to all these. So we'll talk about that and more, plus your phone calls. It's going to be a heck of a show today. It's going to be a lot of fun on a hashtag Freedom Loving Wednesday. 20 minutes past the hour, your phone calls when we come back. This is The Voice of Reason.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
36 minutes past the hour. Welcome into the Voice Reason. Happy Wednesday morning. It's great to have you along today, kicking off your morning the best way we know how to do so. Better than a cup of coffee, a shot of espresso, even an energy drink right here on the show. Welcome in. By the way, before we get into some of the local stuff on the national front, I know that kind of all the news dominated the Kavanaugh case last night and all the hearings and the protesters. And look, I had people actually defending the protesters. Oh, it's the First Amendment. This is the process. That's not the process. Give me a break. It's not a process to cause havoc and interrupt the hearings and to protest and to yell and scream and heckle in the back and then get booted out. That's not a democratic process. That's not the process that we need to be hearing. I don't want to hear about democracy in the first place anyways, but that's not the process for hearing a Supreme Court justice or a Supreme Court candidate. The process is to actually just listen and do the interview and listen to what he has to say and review all the information and then make a decision. It's not to heckle. It's not to boycott. It's not to protest. I know everybody's going to talk about that today. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about it because it's stupid and it's ridiculous, and we need to stop the bickering and the ridiculousness in these situations. But the other piece of news that was happening on the national front last night was the fact that Arizona Republican Governor Doug Ducey ended up nominating a senator to replace John McCain. It's about damn time. So someone can get up into Washington, D.C., someone can actually make some votes, and hopefully they're going to make a reasonably good vote as a Republican. And he ended up choosing former U.S. Senator John Kyle to replace the late John McCain in the Senate. Now, I don't know anything about John Kyle. I don't know his record. He's a former politician. He's been kind of out of the ropes for a little bit, but Kyle's appointment means a Republican attorney who has been gilding President Trump's Supreme Court nominee, Brett Kavanaugh, through the confirmation process, will now have a vote on Kavanaugh's confirmation. In choosing Kyle, Arizona Republican Governor Doug Ducey tapped a figure who is well liked by both Trump's political team and McCain's family and allies. However, Kyle saying he won't run for re-election. It also leaves open the possibility of a bruising primary in 2020. So here's how it's going to work. He's going to fill in until 2020 and then going to be open. It's going to be an open seat. So this is good news, and I kind of like this process. If you're going to nominate somebody that's not going to want to stay there forever. Nominate somebody who's not being elected, obviously, by the people, that's just going to fill in temporarily until the next election. Find somebody that's friendly to the Republican Party, and that's the biggest issue. And if he's favorable to the Republican Party, all the power to him. That's great. Let's get on board with the Trump train. Let's go along. Let's get stuff done. If you're not, then it's going to be a wasted vote. We cannot, because they could have gone two ways with this. Either one, you're a Republican, we're going to support the major Republican Party, what the Republicans are doing right now, or now we're going to go the other way and we're going to go with whatever John McCain wanted and try and hold up his legacy, which would drive me nuts because he doesn't own that seat, so we shouldn't try and nominate somebody that actually wants to be like-minded like John McCain. And it sounds like they didn't do that. Maybe the happy medium. We'll see how he does. But Arizona, they got weird senators down there anyways. Let's hope that he actually does a good job and holds that seat properly and holds it high with the standards until we go into the election in 2020. Got to take a bottom of the hour break. This is The Voice Reason. Stay here.
The latest news from the Big Talker, KQAM.
Your home for entertaining radio.
This is your fault, too, man. I keep missing Rush Limbaugh's morning update every morning because I'm listening to your show.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
36 minutes past the hour. Welcome into The Voice of Reason. Great to have you today on a Wednesday. Hashtag Freedom Loving Wednesday. We are so conservative, so confident, so in your face that we're about 98% sure of our gender identification. Welcome in. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. It is open lines to you. What's on your mind this morning? So I don't know if you remember or not, but on Friday last week, we ended up interviewing Travis Smith, author of the book Superhero Ethics, Comic Book Heroes, and How They Can Save Us Maybe Politically Today. We do have a copy of that book we'll give away today. Stay tuned in for more information on that. Lots of things to get to today. Oh, by the way, so last night, as I wanted to tell you this story. Last night, as we were, I told you I ended up getting home a little bit late last night. I was at the Kansas Farm Bureau candidate forum, and there was a bunch of candidates that were there. And I think it was a really great opportunity for some of the agricultural community to be able to come out and listen to the candidates on how they stand on ag issues. As you know, Kansas, kind of an important topic, right? Kind of an important issue. This is where we really set the and I know I say this all the time. This is where we really define what we're going to stand for, what we believe in, and what we're going to do. We talk about the Arizona governor nominating the senator to replace John McCain in the Senate. Again, why it took so damn long, I don't know. We only missed, 9 months worth of votes in Congress. But, whatever. That's cool. John McCain, we should feel sympathy of the fact that people in Arizona shouldn't have a voice in the Senate because of that. Good riddance to Jeff Flake, too, with him stepping down after this election, or after this cycle in a couple of years. He's going to be stepping down. It's going to be an open seat on that one as well. 2 open seats for the Senate in Arizona. That's going to be a really big race. Just get ready for that one in 2 years. Just get ready to see what that one's going to look like. But as we talk, we look at these, the Conservative Review has John McCain at an F freedom score rating. The Conservative Review has Jeff Flake at a D rating, D- rating, when it comes to their grades on conservatism and freedom as Republicans. It's time for us to clean this up. Now, there's news as well here in Kansas about different Republicans and how they voted and who they've endorsed and who they've actually supported throughout the years and what they've done. Republicanism is such a unique beast, isn't it? It's such a unique beast and a unique umbrella, let's put it that way, that sometimes you just don't know what you're going to get. Sometimes you just don't know what they're going to stand for. They may say they're Republican, and majority of people in Kansas support Republicans, even with, by the way, being after Republicans for registered voters, we have unaffiliated voters still voting predominantly Republican. If they didn't, then we would have a massive number of independents in the state. We would have a massive number of libertarians in the state in elected seats. That's not the case. That's not the case at all, actually. We have a massive majority of Republicans in the House. We have a massive majority of Republicans in the Senate. We have a Republican governor right now, and a really good chance that we're going to have another Republican governor come November and break the mold of the 50-year trend that we've seen in the state of Kansas. Now, what that Republicanism actually stands for, that's another story. That's another issue. What is it going to actually stand for? What are we going to actually do with that Republicanism? And that's the big concern. Last night, I sat there with the Kansas Farm Bureau and watched some of the candidates. And I thought it was a really great forum. And we talked with the lieutenant governor candidates for the Democrat, Lynn Rogers, the independent, John Dahl, the Republican, Wink Hartman. And it was really fascinating to watch the differences, watch the different styles, watch the different mentalities, watch the different topics, or watch the different talking points that they brought up during this forum to an agricultural community. Wink Hartman came in with the business perspective and said, look, I get it. You're a business. You're a farm. You're struggling. I get it. Let's clean up our spending at the government level. Let's clean up our agencies. Let's make you a profitable business again. And let's actually make it to where the environment for you as a business is somewhat reasonable. Let's look at it that way. We had John Dahl, obviously being a farmer from Western Kansas, for the independent race for Greg Orman, which, by the way, Greg Orman will be joining the show tomorrow at 8:30. Looking forward to chatting with him. But John Dahl was there, ended up chatting about the agricultural side and that. Now, he brought an interesting perspective to it. And again, this really shows why he's kind of an independent. He's a really nice guy. I love John Dahl. He's a really nice guy. But, he had some conservative flavor to him. He also had some progressive flavor to him. He understood it got to get the business back on track, got to get the government under control, got to lower some taxes, focus on property taxes, which was definitely needed. At the same time, started pushing the agricultural hemp and started pushing renewable energies. I don't know how that necessarily helps farmers. I can kind of sort of see the agricultural hemp more for the revenue for the state, not necessarily for the benefit of the farmer. Maybe, I don't know. Time will tell on that one. But then the renewable energies and all this other stuff. And it was kind of an interesting comment that he made. Lynn Rogers, then, of course, coming from the progressive side, didn't even really mention agriculture, focused on educational funding. Hey, farmers, Kansas Farm Bureau, yeah, we need to spend more money on education. Do you know where that money comes from for education? Oh, yeah, that's your property taxes. All you farmers that are actually having massive land to plant your crops and to actually grow and do things and actually farm the way you need to farm. Yeah, let's raise your property taxes because education's the real focus here and the real importance. Typical progressive, typical Democrat, and it showed very clearly last night. So that was kind of interesting to listen to. It's really, I got to say, I got to give credit to some groups, especially to many of the Democrats and some of the moderate Republicans. There have been a few candidates in the state lately that are very, very bold in their statements. They really are. They're very bold, and they'll say things to a crowd where usually you try and pander to them a little bit more. Back in the good old days of politics, you actually pandered to the group that you actually talked to, and you'd be like, yeah, I really like this group. I want to talk about your topic and what you actually do and how I can benefit you, and you try and schmooze it over that way. And some people today just haven't been doing that. And I mean, all the power to them. They're actually saying what's on their mind, so I give them credit for that. But when you walk into the Kansas Farm Bureau and you walk into an agricultural community and a group and you start saying that, property taxes are important because we need to fund more education, most farmers are not going to be very susceptible to that. I'm just saying, word to the wise here. Most people are not going to be like, yeah, my taxes, my property tax on all my land, on all my property, on everything that I own. Yeah, I'm okay with raising some of that because I really need to spend more on the education when 53+% of our state budget goes towards education, and most of that goes towards the administration side and so on and it just goes on down the road. How many farmers are actually open to that mentality? I thought it was kind of odd, at least, that someone would say that. Some of the other candidates did as well. When we talked to some of the House candidates last night with the Kansas Farm Bureau, some of the Democrats came out, and Jim Ward was there, and I got to pick on Jim Ward. He's an easy target. He's a very left-wing progressive. He's a nice guy. I said hi to him yesterday. We still got to get him on the show and spar a little bit, but he was there. He did say a few words, and I got to pick on him for a second. As he went up and he talked to the agricultural community, the first thing he said, and I agree with this first comment, he said, you know what? We need stability in Kansas. We need, as farmers and as business owners, you need stability. You need stability in the economy. You need stability in business. You need stability in the government. You need stability in trade. You need stability across the board so that way you can plan your business, because it's already difficult enough to be a farmer when it comes to weather conditions, when it comes to trade, when it comes to commodity prices, when it comes to the quality, when it comes to whatever, when it comes to the equipment, when it comes to harvesting and growing and planting and everything. It's very, very difficult, and you need stability. And I 100% agree with him. I find it ironic, however, that the person who's advocating for stability in the state of Kansas is the one who ended up enforcing and advocating for a retroactive tax increase 2 years ago. I find that kind of ironic, or last year when we did it, year and a half ago, whatever. The person that says, well, you need stability so you can plan your business, but oh, by the way, we're going to do the largest tax increase in state history, and we're going to do it retroactively on you, so that way we can take more of your money. You can owe money when you file your taxes this year, and then we can continue to raise your taxes after that, but we're going to do it retroactively, so you have no idea what your tax rate's actually going to look like. I find that kind of ironic. I kind of chuckled last night. I had a hard time not breaking out in a laugh right in the middle of the event last night as I heard Jim Ward say these comments. We need stability. And now he did come out and he tried to say that the state of Kansas is improving. We did the tax increase. We repealed the evil Governor Brownback tax policies, and we're getting things back on track, and things are being spent again, and we're investing in education again, and we're doing this and we're doing that. And he tried to make it all sound fluffy. Now, that's not the case, and that's not true, but it's nice and cute, and it sounds really nice on the campaign trail. But I do, just again, find it extremely funny that the person that's talking about stability is the one that advocated for instability in the state by shaking up every business in the state of Kansas and said, you're going to pay more taxes. We're going to do this retroactively. I hope you love it, because when you file your taxes, you're going to owe an average of $2,000 to $2,500 on your taxes for the state this year because, well, we had to do it retroactively for the first 6 months of the year last year. Are you kidding me? And then you had one that was another Democrat candidate that mentioned, of course, the whole redistribution. He's a former administrator in the education system and made the comments that we need to be focusing more on education spending. Let's stop harping on educators. Let's start attacking them. We don't need to attack educators any longer. We need to raise more money for them. We need to actually invest more money in the schools. And the rich need to, this is the quote, this is the actual words that he said, we need to redistribute the wealth. We need to make the rich in the Kansas pay their fair share in the education system. And why can't we just put the burden back onto the billionaires in Kansas? Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know how many billionaires there are in the state of Kansas and how many actually already pay a lump sum or a good amount, the few that may be here, if there are any here. I don't know if the Koch brothers are worth $1 billion or how much they're actually worth. But if there are any billionaires in the state of Kansas, how much they actually pay in taxes. But we need to put the burden of educational funding on the billionaires. We got to make the rich pay their fair share finally. We have to begin redistributing the wealth, and we need to reinvest in education because we've been cutting funding for education. This is being said, by the way, to the Kansas Farm Bureau and the agricultural community. Farmers that may not have a whole lot of money in the bank, but they're considered quote-unquote wealthy because they have massive amounts of land, they have massive amounts of equipment, they have massive amounts of resources. They don't have the money sitting in the bank that they're living off of because everything's invested in their livelihoods, and they're considered wealthy. And you have a candidate up there saying that we need to redistribute your wealth because you may have a lot of assets. Therefore, you need to pay your fair share. You need to pay higher taxes. You need to spend more money on education. You just have to pay it because you are the rich, you are the elite, and you need to pay your fair share. I couldn't believe what I was hearing last night. I really could. Now, obviously, there was a lot of Republicans there, majoritively Republicans, and they were talking about cutting taxes and reforming property tax rates so that way the farmers don't have to pay crazy, ridiculous property taxes and so on and so forth. And there was a lot of good words there, too, but those really stuck out to me. Let's redistribute wealth because you're a farmer. You don't have a lot of money, but you have a lot of assets. Let's raise your property tax. Let's redistribute wealth. Let's make sure the millionaires and the billionaires pay their fair share. And oh, by the way, let's have stability by doing retroactive tax increases on you, the business owner that is AKA the farmer. I couldn't believe it last night. I could not believe it. Boggles the mind. 316-721-8255. Maybe I'm seeing this wrong. Maybe if you were there, I'd love to hear from you as well. But just from hearing these types of comments, if you are a farmer, if you are in the agricultural industry, or if you're a business owner and you're about ready to open up your shop here in the next hour or two, I want to hear from you. Does this create stability in the state of Kansas by retroactively raising your taxes, by always focusing on raising your property taxes or your income taxes or your business taxes or whatever? Does that create stability to you? And do you feel better in an economy like that? We were one of 3 states in the entire nation last year with negative GDP growth at negative 0.1%. Negative. Why? It's not because of the tax cuts from Brownback. It's because we spent too much damn money in the government. We didn't reform and we didn't give the money back to the businesses to allow stability. While we have Jim Ward talking about stability. Couldn't believe what I heard last night. 10 minutes to the top of the hour. 316-721-8255. We'll take a break. Wrap up hour number one right here on The Voice of Reason. Stay tuned.
You're listening to The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
5 minutes to the top of the hour. Welcome back into The Voice of Reason. Great to have you along today and making it happen, doing the thing, advancing conservatism the way we love to do so. Welcome in 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK if you want to join in. So with the forum, and again, we talk about this quite a bit when it comes to the agricultural side. First off, farmers, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do what you do every single day. I don't know how you actually survive when you sell something at a lesser price than what it's actually worth, or a lesser price for you to actually make a profit or not make a profit. It's kind of a scary thought. And then you start talking about the demand and the need for it, to where we obviously have an increasing population year over year over year, and we have to find a way to feed everybody like that. It's a scary thought. It's something I'm glad I'm not involved in, something that I don't have to worry about, something I don't have to deal with, because I'm one of those that just wants to, honestly, Yeah. Now, we need something like, a farm bill. How about that, Washington, D.C.? How about that, Congress? Let's get a farm bill intact. And yes, while we're at it, let's do a farm bill reform. And let's actually get stuff done. Look, we have, again, majorities in both chambers, something that doesn't happen very often at the federal level. Hopefully shouldn't change when it comes to the general election in November. But we do have a majority right now. Why can't we get this done? I'm glad we're starting to ram things through, and I know it's a really busy time, and we're going to talk to Congressman Estes here pretty soon, again, when it comes to what's going on in Washington, D.C., because right now, just think about it. We are really about 8 weeks away from election time, which is crazy to think about. We're about 8 weeks away from election season, or election day, and as we're 8 weeks away, we have to finish up our budget at the federal level. Yes, appropriations bills. If they end up doing the appropriations bills, they've been working on them. We haven't heard anything about them, and they better not at the last minute be like, we're going to shut down the government unless we do an omnibus bill. We're going to do a stimulus omnibus bill again, and if we don't like it, then you hate poor people and stuff. We need to repeal Obamacare. Not going to happen. The Republicans are actually looking at doing the second part 2 of the tax cuts. Remember that, if you remember last year in December when Donald Trump said that we're going to do this in phases and phase 2 is going to come this year to do another tax cut. The Republicans now looking at holding off on doing that second tax cut because they're concerned it could affect them in the election. Let me tell you something. Yes, we want another tax cut, and if you do that, maybe that would make people turn out to the voting booth for Republicans because they actually did what they said they were going to do. But now, nope, we're going back to the moderacy. We're going back to the middle-of-the-road stuff. We're going back to let's pretend that everything's hunky-dory. Let's just try and ride through this. Let's hold off on our promises, and let's just try to pander to the middle of the road, to the moderates, because we're scared of Democrats. Let me tell you something. Until we learn our lesson, we're never going to be victorious. We're never going to actually do something productive. We're never actually going to do anything good, anything that actually is substantial, because we're scared to death of our own shadow. We try and swing to the middle. We try and swing back as far as we can to the left. We try to embrace moderacy. We try and embrace the moderate Democrats, the moderate independents, the moderate undecideds, whatever. We lose the base of the Republican Party, and that's why we have so many unaffiliated voters in Kansas. That's why we have people that are looking away from the Republican Party and looking at third parties, independents, libertarians, Constitution Party, whatever, because we're sick and tired of the Republicans not fulfilling their duty. Do part 2 of the tax cuts. We'll talk about that when we come back. This is The Voice of Reason.
It's time for Reason.
They are defining the dialogue. They are limiting the dialogue. They are the ones that are dictating to you what's acceptable and not acceptable as dialogue. Saying that that's a racist comment doesn't make it so, but as long as they say it, then all of a sudden now it's just by default accepted that it's a racist comment, and everybody has to go along with that mentality. When they say that socialism doesn't mean socialism, then we just all have to accept that, right?
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
Yeah, baby, welcome into The Voice of Reason, our number 2, The Voice of Reason, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas. Right here on the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM, simulcasting on TV as well, KGPT TV channel 2610. Good morning, welcome aboard. Great to have you along today on a Wednesday. It is a hashtag Freedom Loving Wednesday. We see the light at the end of the tunnel. It is a holiday week, which means it's a shorter week, but yet still we're ready to go for the weekend. And welcome in 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. If you want to join in today, we'd love to hear from you. It is open lines. We have Jim Howell, Sedgwick County Commissioner, coming on at 7:30 in about 20 minutes. But other than that, it is open lines today. No other guests, just you and I chitting the chat. Tomorrow is going to be one heck of a show, as we have, as you know, and as I teased it yesterday, James Thompson, the Democratic candidate for the 4th Congressional District, the one that brought in Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. He's going to be in studio with us at 8 o'clock tomorrow. Plus, at 8:30, we do have Greg Orman, independent candidate running for governor, on the phone with us at 8:30. So tomorrow's going to be a heck of a show. You're not going to want to miss any of that in any way, shape, or form. Today's a big one, too, though. I mean, today we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Big things are happening. I mean, really big things. This is like huge. It's so huge. It's bigly. I tell you what. And it's open lines to you. 316-721-8255. 316-721-TALK. We're also on Facebook Live, facebook.com/1480KQAM. Go on there. I do appreciate it. Go on there, like it, share it, say good morning. We'd love to hear from you today. A little bit later on the Facebook Live this morning, but that's all right. You know, it's a dreary day. It's rainy. It's cold. It's not cold. It's actually really nice out. 74 degrees right now here, at least at the KQAM studios, but it feels really nice. And it's rainy. It's supposed to rain all weekend. I'm sure the farmers are digging this. A nice drizzle, a nice sprinkle, the on and off rain, not the crazy flooding. I'm sure you're pretty excited and happy about this. I'm sure you're soaking it up. And hopefully you are. 316-721-8255. Let's kick off hour number 2 with a phone call here, shall we? Good morning. What's your name?
This is Jim.
Hey, good morning, Jim. How are you, sir?
Well, I'm still dry.
That is a good sign, at least.
The good news is that the Arizona governor appointed former Senator John Kyle to be the new senator. And I looked on his voting record from his previous service, and he's a good guy.
Well, and that's what it sounds like. He sounds like he's a pretty decent guy. Now, the big question was whether he was going to support the Donald Trump agenda or not.
Oh, I'm sure he will. I mean, if you look at his, one of the things I've learned, if you look at a candidate's position on the Second Amendment and the entire area. In other words, if somebody says, "Well, I support the Second Amendment," for hunting,
right?
He's not good. But if he says, "I support the Second Amendment because the Bill of Rights," and he explains the Bill of Rights historically and accurately and everything, he's good on everything else. People who support your right to keep your arms because, as Ice-T says on the lead in there to Armed American Radio, it's to prevent tyranny.
Right.
And any politician who takes that position isn't going to be bad on anything because he doesn't want to be a tyrant.
Sure, he understands the need for the power to be kept with the people. No, you're absolutely right, and it's a really good sign because they could have gone two ways in Arizona. They could have gone either the way of, the people elected John McCain. They love John McCain, so let's find someone just like John McCain,
like his daughter or his wife.
Exactly. If you remember at the beginning of the year when he went to Arizona and he said he wasn't going to be back to D.C. in like January, February-ish, they were talking about nominating his wife when he stepped down to be able to hold up the seat until the election time, and I'm glad they didn't do that. They could have gone down there, and there would have been somewhat of an attempted justification for it by saying, well, you know what, people elected John McCain. They want people like John McCain, so let's choose someone that's going to be just like John McCain, regardless of John McCain wanting to spite Donald Trump and the entire Republican Party. And Arizona right now has the record of not having the most conservative individuals in the Senate because they have Jeff Flake and John McCain. Both of them have an F and a D when it comes to the conservative review, and they're fighting for conservative principles. But this John Kyle seems like a decent guy. It was approved by Trump's administration and accepted, so it sounds like that he may be pretty good, and hopefully he'll do a good job for the next couple of years.
And McCain had a very outstanding military record, and,
sure.
and his time that he was in Hanoi, took a lot out of him. He put a lot in, but it took a lot out of him. I just think that it broke him more than anybody wants to recognize.
Sure.
People say, well, he was on the forestall and he blew up the airplane. No. He was sitting in his airplane and somebody dropped a rocket and it ran into his airplane. And it almost cost a whole ship because they had they had dozens of armed airplanes with fuel and everything else on the deck. And he performed, admirably.
Right. Oh, sure, and I've never criticized his military to work and what he's done in the military. And Jim, I appreciate the phone call. I mean, I've never criticized any of that stuff. I did criticize how he worked and Washington, D.C., how much he spited Donald Trump, how much he spited conservatives and talk radio. And then, again, the bitterness of him and the fact that he hasn't been to D.C. in 9 months now, and we're finally just filling that seat. He missed some very vital votes. Now, hopefully with this John Kyle coming in, maybe he'll be able to actually help be able to push through Kavanaugh. He'll be able to actually be able to promote some conservative we can maybe get some things done. Maybe we could get national reciprocity done. Now, maybe we could actually try and fund part of the wall when we talk about the budget for the next year and as we're trying to finish up the budget before we have to, shut down the government. Yeah. Maybe we'll be able to phase in part number 2 of the tax cuts that Trump wants to do that now Republicans are holding off on because it's a scary thing during election time. Don't know if the people actually want another tax cut. And I say, really? Really? We don't want another tax cut, huh? Did you not see the economy over the last year when we did the first tax cut? Have we not seen the jobs come back? Have we not seen the low unemployment rate? Have we not seen people reinvest? Have we not seen massive stock market booms and breaking new records on the stock market over and over and over and over again? But no, let's hold off on a second part 2 of the tax cut, even though Donald Trump said he wants to do part 2 of the tax cut. Let's hold off on that, right? I don't know. That might not be very favorable to many of the people because, evil rich people are getting tax breaks. It's unbelievable. So the Republicanism is there. We just need to actually make it happen. And I need your help on this one because bringing that home to the statewide front here, Republicanism has a whole different meaning. As you probably saw the story last night, this one according to Kansas City Star and kansascity.com, former GOP governor of Kansas, meaning Bill Graves, ends up endorsing Democrat candidate for governor Laura Kelly over Chris Kobach. Now, the big news was the fact that it was a former Republican governor who, quote-unquote, has never endorsed a Democrat in a statewide race before, endorsing Laura Kelly over Chris Kobach. Now, I was not here during the Bill Graves times, so I rely on you. What type of governor was he as a Republican? Was he a conservative? Was he a moderate? What type of Republican flavor are we looking at here when it comes to former Governor Bill Graves? Now, let's talk about Bill Graves. First off, the endorsement of a Democrat candidate and the fact that it's the first time that he's ever endorsed a Democrat candidate is an absolute lie from the media. That's not true. Maybe for a quote-unquote statewide, entire state-run race, maybe, but endorsing Democrats has kind of been his thing lately. Endorsing Democrats in House races, statewide House races, has kind of been his thing lately. If you remember in 2016, he endorsed 4 Democrats. He endorsed District Number 51, Adrian Olejnik. In District Number 69 in 2016, he endorsed Garrett Morris, the Democrat. In District Number 32, he endorsed Don Shimkus, District Number 32. And in District Number 95, he endorsed Democrat incumbent Tom Sawyer. He endorsed 4 Democrats in statewide House races in 2016. Now, tell me how this is a Republican that's endorsed predominantly Republican candidates in the past and has tried to hype up Republicanism throughout the state of Kansas. I don't know. Now, I was not here again during the time that he was governor, Bill Graves. I was not here in Kansas at that time, so I rely on you. What type of governor was he? Because this is the big news. Oh, guess what? The Republican Party shattering and breaking at the seams right now because Republicans jumping ship from Chris Kobach and endorsing someone like Laura Kelly, the Democrat, as former Republicans. We saw Steve Backus leave the Republicans and leave Governor Collier's campaign and go over and work for Greg Orman's campaign. Now we see Bill Graves coming out and leaving the Republicans and endorsing Democrat candidate Laura Kelly because Republicans are torn. They hate Chris Kobach, and therefore he's not going to gain support of the Republicans. This is the news. And let me tell you something, just as a forewarning, this is what you're going to hear for the next couple months. This is exactly what you're going to hear. The Republican Party's dead. It's broken. It's torn. It's divided. Chris Kobach's too conservative. Chris Kobach's too nuts. Chris Kobach is yada, yada, whatever else they want to say. Now, it's not true, or it better not be true, but that's what they're trying to portray, because if they can put that nice little inkling in there, I don't know how that works in a campaign, or even as a voter or constituent. Usually for me, if they say the Republican Party's broken and they're too extreme and we don't like him, so you should not vote for him, you should continue to be divided. Me as a conservative, and I don't think this is why the media just doesn't get us, because me as a conservative, I'd say, you know what? I'm going to spite you, stupid media. I'm going to go and do my own thing, and I'm going to support the candidate that you really, really don't like and you're trying to divide me on. And most conservatives are that way. Hence Donald Trump. How many people voted for Donald Trump because the media is like, he's a racist and a feminist and a womanizer and he hates women and he hates gays and he hates this group and that group and he hates all these women. You shouldn't vote for him. He was one of the few ones, I got to say, in the primary race. Usually the media helps the Republicans choose their primary candidates. They did give a lot of time to Donald Trump every time that he tweeted, every time he made the stories. They did give him a lot of time, but he was one of those candidates to where they didn't really hype him up as saying, this is the best candidate for you. And usually that happens. If you remember, that happened with Mitt Romney, that happened with John McCain. Let's go far to the center. He's the best one to be able to reach across the aisle and work bipartisanshiply and be able to work with both sides of the aisle and make things all happy and really be able to fix things. He's a really, really good candidate. You should Republicans probably support this candidate. And then come the general, they're like, he's nuts. He's a right-wing nutso. Mitt Romney, he hates black people. John McCain, he's nothing better than George W. Bush. Why would you want George W. Bush 2.0? We can't have something like that. Donald Trump was different. They didn't like him since the beginning. They talked about him a lot, but they didn't like him since the beginning. Chris Kobach's kind of like that too. They don't like him since the beginning. And now they kind of wanted Chris Kobach because they think he's going to be easier to beat, which is ironic, which is kind of funny, but it's not going to work. But they tried it because they think he's too extreme. And again, brings back to the topic that I brought up in the first hour, the vision of the Republican Party. What is it? What is it? Is it the moderacy like Bill Graves? Let's endorse Democrats because, well, we don't want to go too extreme here. We want to be happy little friends and sing Kumbaya and hold hands with everybody. I'm the Republican former governor of Kansas here. I'm Bill Graves, and I want to support the Democrat extremist Laura Kelly, who's embraced a Bernie Sandersism, who's embraced extreme progressivism. I want to embrace that, right? Steve Backus from Governor Collier's campaign. Yeah, you know what? He was the best candidate. We didn't win, so you know what? I'm jumping on board with Greg Orman. I'm going to be campaigning for him now. Why? Best candidate. We don't want to embrace Republicanism. I don't know if you've noticed or not, but the ones that are on the moderate side of the Republican Party are the ones that jump ship first. Conservatives don't. The ones on the moderacy side, they're the ones that say unite the party, unite the party, unite the party. They're the ones that endorse the moderate candidates and then say, conservatives, just get over it. You don't need to run off the cliff with your flags held high. You need to compromise a little bit and get on board with my moderate candidate. But when we get a conservative candidate, then they're the ones that say, nope, you're too extreme. We're going to go to the other side. No, you're too extreme. We don't want to be part of you. No, we don't want it. Nope, not going to happen. And they jump ship. It makes you go, just a little bit, doesn't it? The ones that try to badger the conservatives all the time, get on board, learn to compromise, learn to work together. You can't stay there with your principles and with you standing firm on what you believe. You can't do this. Is politics. This is the real world. You would compromise with your wife and your significant other. Why wouldn't you compromise with politics as well and be able to work together with a moderate candidate? And we do, because I don't know conservatives usually, unless they go third party, that say, yeah, you know what? Heck with that moderate candidate. We say, the lesser of two evils. All right, we got to do what we got to do. Moderate Republicans, they're like, nope, conservative, you guys are nuts. We're not going to be part of you. We're jumping ship. And maybe that's what Bill Graves is. I don't know. Again, I wasn't here for the time that Bill Graves was governor. But as the big news, Republican governor endorses Laura Kelly for the governorship. 316-721-8255. Kind of interesting news this morning. Let's get your thoughts on this. Good morning. What's your name?
Good morning, Andy. It's Ron.
Ron, how are you, sir?
Pretty good. If my memory serves me right, I think it was Governor Graves that gave us our Supreme Court Justice, Nuss. Since Graves was from Salina, and Nuss was the lawyer for years for the school district, I do believe, if my memory serves me right, it was Governor Graves that gave us Nuss.
Very interesting. Okay. Huh.
So
now, we can take that with a grain of salt as well. I mean, do we have a progressive on the Supreme Court? Yeah, we have a progressive on the Supreme Court. Did he have much of a choice compared to the three that were presented to him by the process of what we have in Kansas? I don't know what the other options were, so I don't know if any of them were any better or not. But you're right that the fact that that's what we came with.
yeah, I just don't remember. Of course, I'm getting old. I just don't remember anything that stands out that Graves did when he was.
So he wasn't that memorable of a governor.
Right.
Well, okay. Well, and that makes sense. And then that makes sense as well by being succeeded afterwards by Kathleen Sebelius. So you have a moderate Republican that didn't really do a whole lot, that just kind of floated through for his years. And then we have Kathleen Sebelius that said, hey, you know what? We're going to shake things up, or we're going to go on the progressive side. And look what happened with the Democrat after that. So it makes sense with that trend that we've kind of bounced back and forth, because the Republican Party and the people of Kansas didn't necessarily choose the best candidates, obviously, at the time. And we kind of chose an immemorable kind of candidate. And now, and Ron, I appreciate it. I think we just lost you there. And now we have him coming out and trying to make this bold stance and endorsing Democrat candidates. It makes sense. But the media plays it off as, look, the Republicans jumping ship from Republican Party. It's not happening. And the ones that weren't ones that necessarily were bound by the Republican Party anyways, because they just didn't care. They have their own vision. They're the extension of the umbrella of the Republican Party. They're the ones hanging on the corner of the umbrella trying to represent Republicanism, and it's just not working. It's just not working. Most Republicans, most unaffiliated conservatives, most individuals with a conservative principle or somewhat conservative principle of limited taxes, lower government, yada, 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 most of them recognize what's going on here, and they're just not buying it. They're not buying the media hype. Got to take a break. 25 minutes past the hour. This is The Voice of Reason.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Continue this conversation when we come back a little bit later after the bottom of the hour break that we got here in just a minute. We'll have Sedgwick County Commissioner Mr. Jim Howell joining us, as we love to chat with every Wednesday. Going to be a big county commission meeting coming up today. Plus, I did see him last night at the Kansas Farm Bureau Candidate Forum. Him and his opponent, Jim Skelton, both there chatting a little bit. So we'll chat. We'll talk about that briefly as well. And again, a fun event last night. If you did miss it, then what the heck, man? What the heck? It was kind of a cool event, so it was really fun to be able to talk to the candidates and see them and see what they stand on, especially when it comes to the agricultural community. Plus, it's open line to you in the 8 o'clock hour. We got a lot more to talk about, more of Republicanism during election time, more information on the elections here in Kansas and nationwide. What do we need to be focusing on? What does our attention need to be on? Because right now, I don't think it's there. I really don't. There's a lot of big things happening, and no one seems to be really caring. So we'll talk about that when we come back as well. Lots to get to on a freedom-loving Wednesday, baby. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
Here's the latest from the KQAM News Center.
Waking up the right way.
I look forward to listening to you every morning when I get ready for work.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Doing the thing, waking up the right way. Interpret that however you'd like to do. So it could be the right way of, oh yeah, it's the right way. The right way is in, conservatism, We're so conservative, we're about 97% sure of our gender identification on a daily basis. Welcome in. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK if you want to join. It is that time. We do it every single Wednesday for our county update. And the man himself, Sedgwick County Commissioner Mr. Jim Howell, back with us on the line here. Jim, good morning, sir. How are you?
Well, good morning, Andy. It's been a great morning so far. It's I'm kind of enjoying this cooler weather. And
it's so
the rain
nice.
is great, but you know what? There's an air show coming up this weekend. I'm afraid that if this rain continues, I don't know what that does to our air show. So I'm a little concerned about that.
An air show? You know, I got to say, I've never been to an air show before. That would be kind of fun to watch.
you've got to go. By the way, it's free, and this is one of the we're an aviation community. We love the Air Force Base, especially our military folks we esteem them highly. We appreciate them and love them dearly, and they're just great folks for this community. The military base, we love it, and we are so happy to have it here. And this community really responds. And so when you have an air show, literally, you're going to have 100,000 people out there looking at those airplanes and watching them flying. And we have the Thunderbirds this weekend. Again, I'm sure it's weather dependent, but free air show and this Saturday and Sunday. So
Saturday and Sunday.
I hope people get out there.
Yeah, do you have some of the details on that? I would like to. You got to get. Now you're giving me more things to do. We got the Kansas State Fair starting up this weekend. We have the debates and the political day on Saturday that you got to go to. Now we got the air shows, and now, as you mentioned, it's cooling down and it's the beautiful weather, and there's too many things to do here, Jim.
You know what? And people say it's just the opposite. They say there's nothing you can do, nothing to do in Wichita. Well, I think that's wrong.
I would think that's wrong.
Do it all.
Yeah.
You know what? On the details on that, I'm really not the guy to talk on the details. I just know I'm excited because it's been a number of years, like 6 or 7 years since we've had an air show here.
Fantastic.
And my family's excited. We are an air show family. We go as a group, and we're addicted to it, and we'll be there. Tremendous, wonderful opportunity. We don't get to do this all that often, so when it happens, we really pour ourselves into this deal. And I'll just tell you that if people want to check it out, I'm sure they can Google that and figure out all the details. But please, I hope that people attend this thing. And I hope we get some sunny weather on Saturday and Sunday. We can see some tremendous flying.
You bet. I'm glad you brought that up. That'll be one to put on the list again. I've never been to one of those shows before, so we may have to do something like that. So very good. I got to see you last night at the Kansas Farm Bureau Candidate Forum. You, along with your general election opponent Jim Skelton, you were both there saying a few comments, along with all three lieutenant governor candidates and many House seats in the area and some other county commissioners. But kind of a nice event last night, talking to the ag community in the Kansas Farm Bureau. It was pretty neat.
I really appreciate them putting that on. They have a tremendous perspective and a tremendous important part of our economy. Producing safe, abundant food is such an important part of our community. And they have some unique issues and some challenges. And the politicians and the policymakers really need to understand the challenges that these folks are dealing with. They do a tremendous job. Farming used to be to stick your thumb in the air and figure out which way the wind is blowing and kind of make a best judgment. Maybe read the Farmer's Almanac. But today it's really truly a science. It's almost like rocket science. These guys are so smart. They're measuring things with drone technology. They measure the precipitation. They analyze the soil. They do they know where every seed is planted because the tractors actually keep track of every single seed that they put in the ground. It is tremendous science. And then, of course, they do have to depend on the weather to do its part. And unfortunately, they're victims. They can't control that, of course. Now, I'll tell you what, I've been out there in the fields looking at some of my big signs out there, and soybeans, I think, are the biggest and healthiest I've ever seen in my entire life. This is going to be a tremendous. I'm not a farmer, but my perspective is it looks to me like the soybean crop this year is just going to be a record-setting crop. But at some point, they're going to have to get the dry weather at some point to get out there and pick that, harvest these crops. Wheat, of course, this year was disappointing because we had drought earlier in the year, but now we're catching up with the rain.
Sure.
And with the weather we've had, the growing season right now for these late summer crops is going great. Now, I'm kind of talking like a farmer, which is kind of strange because I'm really a city boy.
Well, I was just going to say, Jim, maybe we need to get you in some overalls and a piece of wheat sticking out of your mouth and a straw hat. I would love to be able to see a photo of this.
Yeah, not my thing. I'll tell you what, I do love eating, and I do love having abundant, safe food, and being able to go down to the grocery store. And you know what? I'm not an idiot. I do know that food is grown and raised by farmers, and a lot of people, and especially maybe in the West Coast and the other coast, they don't really know where food comes from. But I think here in Kansas, we're smarter than that. We understand how important farmers are. But anyway, just a tremendous forum last night. I really appreciate them putting that on. We have a lot of issues. A lot of people talked about taxes last night. That's a big deal.
Sure.
Taxes is from a philosophical perspective, I tell you, property taxes is almost against the Constitution in a way. We have a right to own property in this country. And if you own property in this country, Kansas especially, you have to continue to pay the government every once in a while to continue to own that property. Otherwise, they'll just take it away from you.
Sure.
So property taxes is kind of a most egregious tax, and especially people on fixed incomes, people who don't have any way to add to the revenue side of the equation, and then we continue to, the other side of the equation goes up. What do? They just deal with it, which is what they have to do, but it does add a lot of stress and pressure to their financial situation. So,
well, not only that, but
taxes,
I mean, like you mentioned, I mean, you just mentioned property taxes. I mean, property taxes is a big thing that's really dealt with the local level, with the counties, a little bit at the statewide level, but a lot at the county-wide level. And property taxes are really what could make or break many farms. I mean, with how much land that a farmer has to have in order to, survive, and the more land they have, then they have to pay insane amounts of property tax on there. That's a scary thought, and I mean, that is one of those detrimental taxes that is way too damn high in Kansas, and we need to start addressing and focusing on that. I know I love the idea that what Brownback did with, and we talked about this last night a little bit about going to the path to zero and the income tax, and that's in the sales tax on groceries and so on and so forth. But the heart of it, the beast that we need to really tackle here is property taxes in Kansas.
We actually had a Republican senator from Johnson County who proposed the way to solve the financial woes of the state is to increase the valuation equation for agricultural properties. In other words, what he's saying is, leave us Johnson County alone. Let's dock it to the western part of our state.
Sure.
And boy, that was a battle. You wouldn't believe how tense that was, and it was threatening. It was really bad. Reality is we have a rural and urban state, just like we have a rural and urban county. We've got to be sensitive to the issues of both what's going on in the urban areas, but the rural can't be left behind. We can't just turn our back to them and act like that's not important. And so that's what's going on right now in the state. Is we've got these urban, and by the way, there's a lot, because we use appropriate because we apportion our districts with population. Where do people live? The majority of our state lives in cities. Right. And so it's really easy for people who are from cities to pass a policy like that. It's very, very threatening to our state. And our economy here is very dependent on stability and keeping these taxes where they are or lower would be much better. But more property tax, although it's an easy it's a low blow to the farmers in the rural part of our state. That is not an answer that we can really entertain in any way, in my opinion.
Sure. No, absolutely. Well, it's going to be an ongoing discussion, I know, for the county along with the state as well, with property taxes and how much that actually does affect a lot of the farmers in the area. We got about 6 minutes. I don't want to run out of time here, but it's a kind of a big county commission meeting today. If people want to go and have some discussion, listen to the discussion. But what's going on with the county commission today?
Actually, I kind of surprised myself. I thought this was going to be a big meeting today, but as I really kind of reviewed the agenda, it's not as big as I thought it was going to be. But I'll just tell you what's going on. We have a little island annexation issue from the city of Derby. It's non-controversial. I don't expect to see much of a problem with that. I expect that'll fly right through. We have 2 HUD grants, total of about $1.1 million. We will consider this is kind of repeat business. People don't know. People out there say, "Hey, you guys are anti-grant." Well, here's the deal. If the grant doesn't do anything good and we're wasting taxpayer money, I'm against the grant.
Sure.
But we have over 70 grants. I think we have 77 active grants right now in Sedgwick County. A large portion of our $440 million is grant funds. So this is just one example. We have 2 grants today, total of about $1.1 million between these 2. It's for housing and urban development grants. These are federal pass-through grants to the state, and then we pick them up here and provide some type of a program to help low income. Actually, I think that's one of these is actually a getting people from homeless communities into. These are certain people that have, I guess, there's things they're doing in their life that makes them where we think that they can actually sustain rent and provide for themselves. They just need to get started, so to speak. So part of this money is for that type of program. We also had Interest Bank Arena, a report. Interest Bank Arena, of course, is a Sedgwick County facility. We own that in the county government, and we like to get a report once in a while. Every 3 months we get a report and find out, how are the financials looking. One of my concerns on that is what's called the maintenance fund. We have some money left over from the construction of that that's supposed to maintain the facility. Well, that fund unfortunately is dwindling, and my concern every 3 months when we get this report is when's that going to cross zero? When are we going to end up having to use property tax dollars to sustain this thing? It's no longer sustained with the maintenance fund. And that's a concern of mine. We'll get that report today. We also, of course, have bids and contracts. We do that almost every single meeting. There's a number of things on that. Things like today we've got some body-worn cameras for our sheriff's officers on that list, as well as tasers. But the most important thing today is actually a consent agenda today, which is consent agenda just means it's non-controversial.
Sure.
There's 2 items on that I've worked on very, very hard. One of those, and actually one of these is in Commissioner O'Donnell's district. It's a pedestrian bridge over the Meridian. At the Meridian Bridge, we want to add a pedestrian bridge over the big ditch. And this has been something we've talked about for about 10 years. We have it on the agenda today, and it will get funded if this passes. Now, again, we think this is uncontroversial. It might get pulled off, might have some discussion. I think one commissioner, may not want to vote for that. We'll see, but I expect it will pass. And that's something we've been working on for a very long time. We've actually found some federal money that was available, so we decided to connect the dots, and that got funded surprisingly here just the last couple of weeks.
Sure.
From a WAMPO. And then finally, the thing I've been working on for about 6 to 9 months now is the air ambulance. I don't know how this happened, but about, 6 to 7 years ago, the county decided to basically disallow air ambulance transport services within Sedgwick County. In other words, we have helicopters that can fly out to surrounding counties to pick up medical victims of whatever, shootings and drownings and heart attacks or whatever, and transport them to one of our local hospitals. Tremendous service, but for whatever reason, we don't allow them to do that inside Sedgwick County. As of today, that hopefully will change. Now, I don't think they're going to be picking people up in Wichita because we have ambulances close by, and it's faster just to do it with an ambulance. But if you're at Cheney or Lake Afton or someplace far, far away, and they say there's multiple victims, this might be a way to get someone to a hospital more quickly when time really matters. And so this is going to be one of those things where I think this is a good policy. Back a few years ago, we used to transport, I'm looking at the list here. I believe in 2011 we transported 105 people, and then it went down 85 people in 2012, 64 in 2013. Again, you'll hear the point here. 53 in 2014. 53 in 2014, 1 in 2015, and 0 every year after that. My point is this: this is a service we need. We used to use it, and for some reason, those transports went basically from reasonable numbers to 0. Right. Why did that happen? I think it was political, and that's bad policy. That's bad government. We've got to move past that, and we've got to allow. We have to allow this service to happen when it's needed. So the reality is I'm proud to get this on the agenda, and hopefully this will pass today.
Very interesting. Well, it sounds like it may not be the most sexy or hard-hitting news, but it is important stuff around all around. What you need to do is just throw in an agenda item as well and just be like, you know what? As a county, I think we need to put in a Donald Trump monument in the county somewhere. And
that would make a lot of interesting discussion.
And see how well that goes off, and see how well people are like, oh yeah, let's go after the county commission. Now, you guys would make news all over the place for something like that.
I think we would. It'd make national news. That'd be fun.
I think we should do something like that. If people want to go to the county commission meeting today, how and when and where can they go?
Oh, you know what? It's such an awesome opportunity. People just need to know the government's very available, and we're open and transparent, and we want people to engage their opportunities to engage these discussions. We don't even require people to sign up. You can show up here, raise your hand, and we'll let you speak. To me, that's a great way to operate. Anyway, we're on the 3rd floor of the Sedgwick County Courthouse. This is the northwest corner of Central and Main. 3rd floor, as I always say, there's adequate security measures in our lobby, so as you come in, you can't bring your guns or knives. Please come on up. We would love to meet with you. The meeting begins at 9 o'clock. We are televised on Channel 8 KPTS, as well as we stream live on our website, and then we post the meetings on our YouTube channel after the fact. So there's a number of ways to see the meeting, but if you really want to participate face-to-face, we would love to have people here and engage the discussion, raise their hand, and actually provide commentary for us to make the best decisions. We would love to have that happen.
Sure.
Today, 9 o'clock, 3rd and Main, northwest corner.
It's going to happen. Make sure to be out there. Make sure to listen, be engaged, and be part of that process as you hear what's going on in Sedgwick County today. Sedgwick County Commissioner Jim Howell, it's always a pleasure, my friend. It was good to see you last night. You guys keep rocking it, and I'm sure we'll see you before then. Maybe I'll see you out at the flight show tonight or this weekend. I'll try and get out to that air show. Might be kind of fun to view, but if not, then we'll chat again next Wednesday for sure.
Sounds great, Andy. Thank you so much.
Hey, always a good time. Jim Howell, there's Sedgwick County Commissioner. We'll take a break, wrap up hour number 2. Lots more to get to today on a hashtag Freedom Loving Wednesday right here on The Voice of Reason.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
3 minutes to the top of the hour. Welcome into the Voice of Reason, doing the thing, making it happen today on a Wednesday, hashtag Freedom Loving Wednesday. Thanks again to Jim Howell, Sedgwick County Commissioner, joining the program. We always love chatting with him. When we come back in hour number 3, it is going to be open lines to you. No guests, just you and I chitting the chat the way we like to do so. We have some big news. The media and the Democrats all panicky about Republicans. They're panicky about trying to express panic of the Republicans. Republicans, according to them, being all panicky of the race, sinking in $1.8 million in congressional races here in the state of Kansas and deep red Kansas. And, they're sinking in money. They're really scared. They're really concerned of what's going to happen with these elections. It's going to be the blue wave. Oh, my gosh. We'll touch on that. Plus, we'll talk again about the Bill Graves endorsement of the governor's race, what that actually means. Will it mean anything? What type of governor was Bill Graves? I wasn't here at that time. I'm going to rely on you for that one. And what the Republican Party looks like going into this race. The tax cut part deuce, potentially coming if Republicans actually do it. Now the Republican Party a little concerned that maybe we shouldn't do tax cut part deuce. Because, we don't want people to get more money because that might hurt us in the elections for the midterms. All that and more coming up. This is The Voice of Reason, hour number 3. Stay right here.
It's time for Reason.
They are defining the dialogue. They are limiting the dialogue. They are the ones that are dictating to you what's acceptable and not acceptable as dialogue. Saying that that's a racist comment doesn't make it so, but as long as they say it, then all of a sudden now it's just by default accepted that it's a racist comment, and everybody has to go along with that mentality. When they say that socialism doesn't mean socialism, then we just all have to accept that, right?
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
Yeah, baby, welcome into The Voice of Reason, hour number 3. The Voice of Reason broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas. On the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM, simulcasting as well on TV, KGPT TV, channel 2610. Good morning, welcome aboard. It's great to have you along today on a hashtag Freedom Loving Wednesday. Boy, we've had a lot of fun today. It's already hour number 3 already. This goes by way too fast. It's dreary today. It's still kind of rainy-ish, which I kind of love. And it's mid-70s. It's not 90-degree weather anymore. I can dig it. Welcome in, 316-721-8255. It is open lines to you for this entire hour. No guests, just you and I chit in the chat, doing the thing. Tomorrow's going to be our big show. Today, we were going to have Greg Orman, independent candidate for governor. He can't do it today. He is coming on tomorrow at 8:30. Tomorrow at 8:30, wrapping up the program, we'll have him on. And tomorrow, of course, is the day as well at 8 o'clock. We do have in studio for the Democratic candidate for the 4th Congressional District, Mr. James Thompson. So it's going to be a big show tomorrow. Stay tuned in for that. James Thompson at 8 o'clock, Greg Orman at 8:30. It's going to be kind of a fun one. What can I say? That's what we do here. And stay tuned in for both of those. Both of those should be relatively entertaining. Until then, though, it is open lines to you today. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. We have the Facebook Live feed up and rolling. A lot of people jumping on that one right now, and we appreciate that very much. Welcome aboard. We love having you here to start off your morning the best way we know how to do. According to ABC News right now, energized against Donald Trump, Democrats reach a 14-point lead in the midterms, according to the latest polling. Now, here's part of my job on the radio. And this goes for both the national thing, even though I'm not nationally syndicated yet. Here's my job, is to be the rallier, be the go-getter, be the firer up, whether it's the national elections or whether it's here in the state of Kansas or whether it's here in Sedgwick County or whether it's here in the city of Wichita. Here's my job, is to rally the troops, to rally you, the constituent, the voter, the energized base, the base of the Republican Party. This is, first off, I believe, bogus news. This is, if you want to call it, hashtag fake news. Energized against Donald Trump, Democrats reach a plus 14-point lead in the midterms, according to the latest polling, which means the Republicans, of course, in a panic. Now, this ties a lead. This ties into Kansas here very much so, because you did see the story, or at least maybe you saw the story of course, the Republican Bill Graves, former governor of Kansas, Bill Graves, endorsing Lori Kelly for the Democrats in the governor's race and not wanting to embrace Republicans with Chris Kobach. They say it's a big story, big news, big breaking thing, Republicans jumping ship. Not necessarily the case, because Bill Graves, even though he says it's the first statewide race that he's endorsed a Democrat, in statewide race, yeah, maybe, but it doesn't really matter because he's already endorsed Democrats before in House races, which I would say would be state races because they represent us at the statewide level. It may be only a district, but they still represent, and he's endorsed 4 of them back in 2016, so not that big of a shocker. A moderate Republican jumping ship when things don't go the way that they want to. Because like progressives, many individuals are very, either my way or the highway, baby. And I don't like the way you're doing things, so I'm going to change it. So this is the moderate Republican endorsing a Democrat. Then you see the story about $1.8 million of money being sent into the Republicans in congressional races here in Kansas. And the big scare tactic is, oh, look, Kevin Yoder really scared about his race. Oh, look, Steve Watkins, open seat in the 2nd district, really scared about that race. Oh, look, James Thompson, really scared about that race against Congressman Ron Estes. And this is the mentality that people are trying to weed through and understand, is that, are the Republicans really terrified? Are the Republicans really scared? Are the Republicans really concerned? And this is either here in Kansas or even nationwide. Are they scared? Because according to ABC, look at this, that Democrats may be up by 14 in the midterms, potentially winning 14 seats, potentially seeing that blue wave happen. Now, I've been saying over and over and over again, now it may change. We're 9 weeks away, 8 weeks away from election time. It may change, but I still don't see the momentum of the Democrats. What did they do yesterday? What did they do yesterday at the Kavanaugh hearings? Did you see any of this? Did you follow any of this? Did you hear anybody talking about this yesterday? Playing all the clips of the banter of all the senators that are on the committee and on the hearing committee trying to cause an issue intentionally. All the protesters in the back, including Linda, what was her name? Linda Sarsour or whatever, the Muslim gal that tries to advocate for Sharia law and tries to be the left-wing progressive, whatever. She was there causing a scene. A lot of actresses and Hollywood stars were there. I'm glad that they were there because, you know, they're the real big activists. 70 people arrested. It took an hour and 40 minutes for a hearing, and it was interrupted like 60 different times. It was planned, it was staged, it was obnoxious, it was childish, and it was stupid. That's the Democratic Party right now. Now tell me how that attitude is going to get you elected in the midterms because you hate Donald Trump so much. When you're running on a platform of we hate Donald Trump, we hate your nominees, we hate your tax cuts, we hate your plan, we hate your immigration policy, we hate you building the wall, we hate all of it. We're just going to redo all of it. We just want to go back to Barack Obama times. Can we please go back to Barack Obama times? If you run on a campaign like that, you're going to lose. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. Now, this is the media hyping it up, saying, look, Democrats potentially 14 points up when it comes to the midterm elections, potentially winning 14 seats, doing very, very well right now. Look at this, Kansas. $1.8 million coming in for Republican seats in the congressional races here in Kansas because Republicans are really, really scared. All we have to do is embrace Republicanism and we will win. That's all we have to do. It's a very simple thing. And here's my job as the rally crier, rallying the base, rallying you, the voter, to get excited, to get pumped up, because all we have to do is show up and we'll win. We have more registered Republicans than any other party in the state. The second isn't even Democrats, but unaffiliated voters. And let me tell you something. If they voted Libertarian, if they voted Independent, if they didn't vote Republican, then we wouldn't have a massive Republican majority in both chambers of the state of the House and the Senate in the state of Kansas. We wouldn't have all four of our congressmen right now and women as Republicans. We wouldn't have our two senators in the state of Kansas as Republicans. And we wouldn't have a Republican governor if majority of even the unaffiliated voters in Kansas were not only Republican, but relatively conservative. Now, there may be a wide umbrella of Republicanism in Kansas, and I admit that. We have some very moderate candidates in the state legislature. We've had some very moderate governors, Bill Graves being one of them, it sounds like. I don't know. I wasn't here. But the fact that he endorsed 4 state House races of Democrats in 2016, now the fact that he's endorsing a Democrat candidate for the governorship because he hates Chris Kobach so much, whatever the case is, doesn't sound like the most conservative individual to me. I don't know. Maybe he did some good things. From what I've heard so far, is that he was kind of like, who? But as they try and say, look, Democrats possibly winning 14 seats. Republicans getting desperate. Republicans trying to shy away. It happens every single time. And it happens a little bit on both sides of the aisle, but it happens every single time when Republicans get scared, when Republicans see something negative, when Republicans see something not going their way, they hit the panic button way too soon. They hit the panic button way too soon. This is the other story that we see today, according to Bloomberg.com. Republicans weigh abandoning the second phase of the tax cuts. They're afraid of the midterm elections. They're afraid of the majority because what's happened all this year, even though the economy is at record highs with the stock market, even though that we're at record unemployment rates in the state of Kansas, all over the country, when it comes to any demographic you're looking at, whether it's just nationwide, we have people going back to work, we have manufacturing happening, we have great things that are going on right now because of the tax cuts, because of people that were even anticipating the tax cuts before they even happened, and now Republicans think about abandoning phase 2 of the tax cuts, which are supposed to happen this year. This is why Republicans lose. Because guess what? Now we're talking about not even doing part dose of the tax cut. We have just weeks away before the deadline is to shut down the government again because we haven't passed a budget. All summer long, we've been talking about appropriations bills. What's happened? What's come out of it? Have we reformed anything? We haven't passed a farm bill. We haven't passed any appropriation bills. We haven't built the wall. We haven't funded the wall. We haven't reformed SNAP. We haven't reformed Social Security. We haven't cut any of the social spending. We haven't boosted the military. We haven't done anything that we said we were going to do. And then we wonder why people are upset with the Republican Party. And we wonder why that people are angry. We wonder why people want changes. If you do what you say you're going to do, then you'd win. If Donald Trump came out today and said, I'm going to build the wall, I will find a way to build it, and you know what? I might even subsidize it with my own personal money, and then I'll get paid back by actually accepting my checks as president, because so far I've been donating my monthly and quarterly checks or whatever as being president, because I don't need it, because I'm worth billions of dollars. I'm going to fund half the wall by myself, because we need to get this thing done now. We're going to get Justice Kavanaugh in there. We're going to build the wall. We're going to do phase 2 of the tax cuts. And any of the Democrats throwing a fit about it, I don't really care.
We don't care anymore.
That's what we do. And I guarantee you, if that happens, landslide victory for Republicans across the board. We wouldn't have to worry about a thing. Steve Watkins would get in the 2nd Congressional District as a Republican. Kevin Yoder, maybe not the most conservative guy, but he's the Republican candidate. He would maintain his seat in the 3rd Congressional District. Ron Estes, not going to have a problem anyways, I don't see in this district, but to be able to rally him. This whole 14-point outlook right now for the midterms of Democrats would disappear. They're excited because about, as you know, from what happened last night with Massachusetts, in that race in Massachusetts was the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez candidate, ends up beating 10-year incumbent for the Democratic primary. There is no challenge in the general election from a Republican, which means a new socialist, Bernie Sanders-ite, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez-ite type of candidate ends up winning that seat. Look at this. The blue wave's happening. It's already a blue state. It's already a blue district. It doesn't matter. It just shifted farther to the left because there's a candidate in there that's not an incumbent, that's not an establishment candidate, and that is more progressive. Doesn't mean that it actually changed the tide in D.C. And it doesn't mean that Alexandria had anything to do with it. But that's the way they're playing it off. Doesn't matter, right? The media is our worst enemy, as we already know, but they're playing this very, very nicely here in Kansas and nationwide. Republicans panicking. Outlook shows favoritism for Democrats. And I tell you what, every time we hear a story like that, all that does is rally Republicans actually show up because we're angry, because we're scared, because we don't want that to actually happen. It's going to be all right. All we have to do is show up, and all we have to do is make the Republicans follow through with what they're going to do. Do phase 2 of the tax cuts, and you'll win. Build the wall, and you'll win. Pass a damn farm bill with work requirements on SNAP, and you'll win. Because that's what Republicans want. Don't go farther to the left. Don't try to embrace the independents. Don't try to embrace the moderate Dems. Don't try to embrace the middle of the road as you did with John McCain and you lost, as you did with Mitt Romney and you lost. Don't embrace the moderacy and leave the base. Do what you told the base you were going to do, and the base will continue to support you. That's all you have to do. 316-721-8255. Let's get your thoughts on this. Line number 1. Good morning. What's your name?
Good morning, Andy. Carl.
Carl Peterjohn. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm fine. Couple of quick points.
Go for it.
Because I was here in Kansas, in fact, was advocating for taxpayers up at the State House when Bill Graves was elected governor, and when he left the governorship, handed it off to Kathleen Sebelius in 2003.
Okay.
And if you look at if you do a little digging in 1999, a State of the State speech, Bill Graves made a comment that he'd been elected to his last term as governor and he wouldn't be raising taxes, and that's what he did. He raised gas taxes, he raised excise taxes on a variety of things, he raised the sales tax, and he fought with the conservatives in the legislature, the Republican part of it, and actually had better ties with a lot of the Democrats in his last 4 years as governor. And so, in fact, one of the things, if you look at the record, the House Majority Leader, who was a conservative at one point in frustration, got about 20 members of the House. Bill Graves' campaign slogan was "Load 'em high and tight," which was from his trucking industry days in Salina. And the House Majority Leader, and this is in the House Journal, it's in the record, and it goes back into the 90s, saying when we voted for high and tight, we didn't mean a higher level of state spending and a tighter grip on taxpayers' wallets and purses. And that didn't get much media attention because our media here didn't think that was newsworthy, that the House Majority Leader and about 20 members of his caucus had signed on to this statement and an explanation of vote back in the 1990s. But Bill Graves, I don't take that too seriously. I do want to switch gears just a little bit on the Kavanaugh hearing, because we've had an interesting historical precedent for the utter debacle and the disgraceful performance of the left and the left-wing senators yesterday in Washington. And that's the Charles Sumner Preston Brooks event in 1854 in the run-up to the Civil War. Charles Sumner was a Republican. He was anti-slavery, and he was working on his desk in the U.S. Senate when Congressman Preston Brooks, a Democrat, came in who had a walking stick or cane, and Brooks came in and literally sandbagged Sumner while he was sitting at his desk working and beat him on the floor of the U.S. Senate. And Sumner was grievously injured, and it took literally months and months for him to recover. And of course, the precedent for this is the whack job supporter of Bernie Sanders, socialist, who tried to assassinate Steve Scalise. But what's going on in Washington now, unfortunately, has a historic precursor, and I sure hope it doesn't move us in, because there's a lot of talk about a second Civil War. And I think the Brooks-Sumner episode in the 1850s, where you had a Democrat congressman beating up a Republican senator on the floor of the U.S. Senate, and we had, fortunately, it was strictly verbal yesterday, but the outrageous misconduct and the fact that our left-wing media, with the journalist historic background, haven't given us the attention. If the shoe was on the other foot, the screaming that would be coming out of the media would be unbelievable. But
sure.
That's a quick second point. The last point I'll leave you with, the statewide mill levy in Kansas is 21.5 mills for state property tax, and there was bills introduced last year to dramatically increase it. And if the black-robed legislature, also known as the Kansas Supreme Court, continues to rule this state's finances, I suspect that that's going to be front and center on the 2019 legislative agenda when the next edicts come down from the court in terms of how much money must be spent, because we've raised the excise and sales taxes massively. We've increased the income taxes on everybody, and we're returning to our dubious position as a high tax point on the prairie. And about the only pool of money that they haven't already hit on is the property tax. And so for the ag folks out there, the effort, they'd have to do a constitutional amendment to change that, though, which would require 2/3 in the House and the Senate.
Sure.
We don't have time to go through it. But the push will be for raising property taxes on everybody. And, of course, the consumers will get hardest hit because utilities are hardest hit, and they'll be able to pass it through. So
right.
Instead of the Republican tax relief that cut corporate taxes and should have turned into lower rates from Westar, where we would be in a position where if you raise the statewide mill levy, you're going to be raising property taxes on through everyone's electric and utility bills, Andy. So on that cheery note, you have a good day.
Well, I appreciate it, Carl, very much. No, you're right. I mean, there's a lot of those issues that we need to keep in mind as we go to the voting booth. We have more conservatives that won in primaries. We have Republican candidates that could potentially win Democrat seats in the general election. And the governor's race is really going to be a telltale sign for that. And all we have to do, again, is show up, and we'll win. And we'll be able to win it with Republicans and unaffiliated voters. We can do this. Don't let the media scare you. Don't let them think that they have this blue wave coming to take us over. It's going to be all right. Let's just stay focused, keep our head to the grindstone, and make it happen. 26 minutes past the hour. We got to take a break. This is The Voice of Reason.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier on the Big Talker, KQAM.
Bottom of the hour news coming up. We'll open up lines. See you again when we come back. More on the elections, more on the Republicans, and things happening in the state here. Your phone calls. We'd love to hear from you. This is The Voice of Reason. It is a Wednesday. Let's make it a good one. What do you say? Stay here.
Here's the latest from the KQAM News Center.
Patriotism is alive and well. The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Hey, 36 minutes past the hour. Welcome into The Voice of Reason. It's great to have you today on a Wednesday. Hashtag Freedom Loving Wednesday. I'm reading some of the headlines on Drudge, just kind of seeing how things are rolling. Man intentionally crashes truck into local Fox studio and starts ranting about treason. You know, the basic platform of the progressives who just don't like anything going on right now. And that's supposed to be a winning ticket. I don't get it. I don't understand. And then we see the panic build, and the panic build up in the Republicans, and the panic build up, statewide here and nationwide. I don't know what's going to happen. Might have to change up the platform, might have to not do a phase 2 of the tax cut. I mean, just imagine that. Donald Trump, if you remember, last November, December, when he did the first tax cut, said we're going to do another phase of this. It's going to be even more tax cuts. Even more people are going to be impacted by it in a good way. People with money, people on the lower income scale. We're going to do tax cuts across the way. It's going to be fantastic. And there's going to be 2 or 3 phases of this. Because, we're about actually doing things in phases the right way rather than just, bam, here it is, enjoy it. And we do it in a proper procedure. Now, I don't know. Election time's coming up. Democrats are looking pretty favorable. We might want to back off on that a little bit because we got a tax before. They said that only rich people got that tax break, and the Democrats didn't like that very much. Republicans loved it. Everybody got tax cuts. Everybody got money back in their own pockets. So we did really well, but Democrats didn't like it very much, and they're looking like they may be winning. So let's go ahead and back off and allow them to win by default by not doing another tax break, because that would make us win by not doing what we said we were going to do, while Democrats are happy about that. Somehow, in some really crazy world, that makes sense to the Republicans in order for that to be a winning ticket going into the midterm elections. Where are the appropriations bills? Where are they? Why aren't we passing them? Why aren't we doing major reforms in social spending? Why aren't we cutting? Why don't we have the farm bill? These are the questions. And that's important for us to talk about with Congressman Ron Estes, Congressman Kevin Yoder, and then talk about with Steve Watkins in the 2nd District, Roger Marshall, Congressman over in the 1st District, and say, look, let's start getting this stuff on. And I guarantee you that if you say that you're going to get these things done and fight to get these things done, and you're going to be part of that process, then you're going to have no problem winning in Kansas. Because Kansans want a balanced budget. Kansans are sick and tired, which is why there's so many unaffiliated voters in Kansas. They're sick and tired of not seeing an appropriations bill, not seeing the tax cuts actually go through, and they say, not seeing the wall being built. Let's get it done, my friends. Phones are lighting up. Let's go right to them. 316-721-8255. It is open lines to you. Line number 2. Good morning. What's your name?
Hi, Andy. This is Helen.
Helen, how are you?
I'm doing just great. Well, I listened to the trial, you know, what they call that?
With Kavanaugh, the hearings.
Kavanaugh, the hearings, yes. And it just struck me, of course, you know, I'm not surprised because, you know, the Democrats, they're obviously anti-Christian, anti-Constitution, and anti-conservatism. It's just disgusting. And you know, the Constitution says that we have the right to life. We shall not be deprived of life. Well, we'll attain life the exact same way. We don't crawl out from underneath a rock.
Unless you're a Democrat.
Well, that could be.
There you go.
And then also a property. And you know, they're saying that the rich need to pay more. Well, God says in Exodus chapter 30, he says, the rich shall not give more, and the poor shall not give less. So it's, you know, we should all be equally taxed, equally, you know, and God always only asked for 10%. But, you know, our greedy government today wants 50% of whatever.
Oh, come on. I mean, if you have
more.
A business and property and everything of the sort, then yeah, you're paying on the upwards of 50%. Plus, you'd move into a city like New York City and some of those taxes. I mean, yeah, you're paying upwards of 50-60% on everything that you make. You're absolutely right. Helen, I appreciate it. I want to sneak in another phone call here, but you're right. We have right now the ones at the Kavanaugh hearing were very as you mentioned, anti-Constitution, anti-conservative. I find that ironic because they're the ones saying and yelling and screaming about due process, about we need more documentation, we need more documents, we need more documents, we need more of this, we need more of that, which is complete baloney. They've already said that they've released more documents than they have for any Supreme Court nominee for the past 5 nominees combined. But they need more, and the ones that they do want to release aren't ones that he even wrote an opinion about, but processed as being part of President Bush's administration and processing classified legal documentation that went through his office and documenting it and storing it and filing it. That's what he did, and those are the types of documents that they actually want. So this complete thing is staged. They already admitted that it's staged. The Democrats admitted that they did a phone conference with all the Democrats on the panel and all the protesters before the actual hearing began, so that way they could stage it and they could do it in increments to be thrown out little by little, to try and interrupt little by little, and to drag this process on and to make it as brutal as they possibly can. And the one sole reason they're doing that is because they're desperate to stop him from becoming a Supreme Court justice. That's it. That's it. He's qualified. He's fine. They just don't like him because he's conservative. That's the one and only reason. Which I get it. I mean, kudos for you trying, but the ones that are screaming due process, the ones that are screaming let's have the right process and let's do, you're abusing that system. Do the interview process. Do the hearing. Listen to him speak. Ask him questions. Don't interrupt. Don't banter. Don't rail. Don't throw temper tantrums. Don't throw a fit. And for sure, don't have protesters in the back that are getting. 70 people got arrested yesterday because of that hearing. 70 people. That's unbelievable. And this is the mentality that's supposed to win in November? Just throwing the temper tantrum. We don't like it, so we'll do whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. We'll throw the fit. We'll cause ruckus. We'll have Antifa doing ridiculous things. We'll protest. We'll beat up people wearing Make America Great Again hats. We'll stop any type of process of hearings or committees or whatever. We'll do whatever. We will be the obnoxious temper tantrum 12-year-old child, and that's going to get me elected. That's going to win the seat. That's going to be the blue wave. If I become that obnoxious teenage adolescent, that will become the winning ticket. Yeah, look, if that's going to be your platform, then all the power to you because you're going to lose. You're going to lose. It's not going to work very well, but good luck trying. 316-721-8255. Let's go back to the phone to your line number 3. Good morning. What's your name?
Hey, what up, G-Money? This is El Shano.
Sean, what's going on, sir? How are you?
Man, dude, you stole all my thunder this morning.
Well, it's kind of my job. It's okay.
I don't know what to say now.
Well, that is all right.
You know, this only really kind of causes me, I don't know, a little bit of worry, maybe a touch of anxiety. Really, I haven't had anxiety in quite a while now, so I don't want to get that.
Well, and look, again, that's my duty to try and put those nerves at ease. As long as we go and vote and we make our voice heard, then we have no problem. We have nothing to worry about because we encourage Republicans to get elected at the statewide level, at the federal levels. We get them elected. We push them to do what they need to do. We make them follow through with it. And we not only just go out and vote, but we encourage, look, it's all psychological warfare. Again, the two things in politics that make you successful in politics is number one, money, and number two, a good PR. And right now, the Republicans are struggling with the PR side because they're not coming out and saying, look, we're not concerned. We're not worried. We have the ideas. We have the platform. We have the victory. Look at the economy. Look at what we've done. We have so much more we need to get done. Look at the fact that we could have a solid conservative Supreme Court right now at the federal level. Look at the fact that we could potentially repeal Obamacare. Look at where the stock market's at right now. Look at the unemployment rate. We have another phase of tax cuts that we could potentially be doing here. Keep us in power, and we'll continue to do that. But right now, they're scared, and because they're scared, they're backtracking on everything they want to do that we want them to do because they're afraid of losing the majority. And whenever they get scared, they end up backtracking and trying to play the wishy-washy, middle of the road, oh, I don't know what to do. You guys tell me what to do. And they freeze. And it's our duty not just to go out and vote and ensure that we're going to vote for them, but to encourage them and say, look, you guys are doing the right thing. Keep it up. We got your backs no matter what the media tells you, no matter what the left-wing progressives tell you. Keep it up, and you're going to stay in office.
Reclaiming my time, Mr. Chairman. I didn't get to finish, man. What I was saying was causing me some worry is whenever I hear somebody mention Civil War, like the caller you had on towards the bottom of the hour. What was his name?
Carl. Yeah. I mean, and there's that talk about the civil unrest and the civil wars. Look, I don't want anything to happen like that. I don't want to see anything like that. I think that we can resolve this peacefully, and we will resolve it peacefully, and that as long as we continue on the track we're going on, then we're going to be in good shape.
Well, here's the problem, though. There's been too much stuff that's been going on that I've never seen before that's really appalled me and disturbed me.
Sure.
And I think that, unfortunately, there's going to be a civil war. But let me explain. I don't think it's going to be like the first one. It ain't going to be no 4-year-long civil war. I mean, for crying out loud, millions and millions would die this time around.
Look, worst case scenario.
I think there's going to be at least a brief civil war, and there is going to be a lot of casualties, but it's going to be brief. And I think that it's the lefties, because they can't handle losing an election, are the ones that are going to start it. You know, I mean, you got some nut like the guy that went out there and shot at a bunch of Republican congressional members having softball practice.
Right.
See, this is something that's never happened before in this country in my lifetime. Now, I'm being a student of history and a political science major when I was pretty near a straight A student and all that stuff. I know how things used to be way, way, way back in the day, and in the 1700s and 1800s, with members of Congress actually getting into fisticuffs there, and in the chambers, the vicious things said about each other, during election campaigns for president. So a lot of this crap is nothing new. It's just that we haven't seen it in a long time. But when it's getting to the point where, you got a mob of people attacking supporters of a particular presidential candidate as soon as they leave a campaign rally, and you see that stuff on the news, and
it's
then
happening more frequently.
Where in the hell are the police?
Right.
What?
Oh, well, yeah, and it's happening more frequently. Here's what it comes down to. And let's talk about this for just a second about, worst case scenario if we did go down that road, which I don't see happening right now. I think that we're not quite there yet, but there are so many frustrated people in society. You have the left, as you mentioned. I think you're right that if there would be any type of violence or action or rising up or anything that would happen, it would be the left-wing progressives that are sick and tired of Donald Trump, that are sick and tired of all the people that continue to support him after everything they say that they've been able to come out with to go after him and try to impeach him and everything of the sort, that it would be them that tried to rise up. And it would be a very short thing because there are 400+ million firearms in the country, and conservative NRA members are the ones that are actually owning those. So it would be a very short thing, but let them try and let them do their stupid thing. But there is so much anger on both sides of the aisle right now that you're right that there is a lot of tension. We got to find a way to break that tension. Because right now we have progressives that have come out and actually admitted, it's time for us to have complete ultimate socialism, and we don't like capitalism or rich people, and it's time to end rich people, and that's what they want. You have conservatives that are saying you guys are not the brightest crayons in the boxes, and it's time for conservatism to prevail. Get back to constitutionalism, get back to conservatism, and then let us be able to actually get this country back on track, and then everybody has an opportunity again. And between those two tensions, there's a massive divide. The question is, which side is going to prevail? And I can already tell you which side is going to prevail. It's going to be conservatism. It's going to be constitutionalism. Because again, number one, if they do try it on a physical level, we have 400+ million firearms in the country that we're not going to go anywhere, and it's not going to happen. Number two, right now, even if we try to go a little bit more on the progressive side of the aisle ideologically, it's going to crumble and it's going to fail. Again, we have the numbers. We're going to rise up and actually make it happen. We have more numbers than what they anticipate or what they recognize, which is why Donald Trump won. And as long as we continue to fight and we keep up that fight on the philosophical front, then number one, I don't think we're going to see a civil war. Number two, I think that we're going to get this country back on track. And then once things do well, look, when people are fat and happy and they're flourishing and they're doing well, then they don't complain a whole lot. And if we do another tax cut, and if we allow the economy to continue to grow, and if we allow people to get more jobs, and it's easier to get jobs, and the wages are going up, and things are doing better, people are fat and happy, and then we can just postpone this for a little bit longer. Sean, I appreciate it very much, my friend. Want to cut you off here. Want to try and sneak in another phone call before we take a break. Good morning. What's your name?
Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning, Drew. How are you, sir?
Doing great.
Good.
Two fast points. Number one, we are in a civil war. It's a civil war of ideas, a civil war of ethics,
yes.
A civil war of information,
sure.
and it is getting violent. And unfortunately, I can't say we're going to win it because we haven't learned to play the long game on the constitutionalist side, and the progressives have been playing it for 100 years, and it's been incremental. And
sure,
that goes to the second point, which is all those great accomplishments, which you said earlier, the things that have been done in the last 18, 24 months. That's our weakness. Because that's got everybody that's, fat and happy. We're thinking we've done our job when we went and pulled the lever during the presidential. And now we got the midterms coming up. And there's look at the numbers. We're not getting people to the polls.
No, you're right. And I mean, you're absolutely right. The strongest ally that we have is also our weakest and is our biggest enemy, because you're right. When we are fat and happy because things are doing well, then we do tend to relax, and then we go the other direction, and then we start complaining again, and it's just that vicious cycle. You know me, Drew. Come on.
Andy's
I'm always
optimism of the day.
All right, I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm always the optimistic kind of guy, and I think that I always like to look at the optimism in many situations, and I see the potential for us to do well. And you're right, we are in the Civil War right now, ideologically. But I think the reason that we are is because the silent majority that has been complacent is waking up and realizing, oh, wait a second. Donald Trump wanted to come in, be the bull in the china shop, shake things up, and look, after the tax cut in December, what have we really done? Everything that we've done this year has been the omnibus bill that increased our debt by $1 trillion, more spending, more regulation. We're having a trouble continuing on with the agenda. We haven't been able to do much. This is tougher than what we thought. We thought we'd be able to wipe it all out. This goes deeper than we thought. I guess we better get our nose to the grindstone. And it's waking us up, which is causing the tension to the other side, because as they've done it little by little over the years, we haven't paid attention. We haven't really cared. I got my work to do. I got my family to tend to. I got more things to take care of, whatever, and we haven't really focused on it. Now we are, and we're addressing it, and I think that we can go back on this direction because now we're paying attention. Drew, I love it. I appreciate the call. Absolutely great points. Got to take a break as we wrap up the show today. We'll try and sneak in another call or two when we come back. This is The Voice of Reason.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Boy, I can't believe it's all over today already. It went way too fast. It was a lot of fun. Appreciate all the phone calls, all the great conversation. Tomorrow is going to be a heck of a show. You're not going to want to miss it. James Thompson, you want to talk about sparring ideologically tomorrow. We're going to do that a little bit. Sparring ideologically with the socialist candidate here for the 4th Congressional District, James Thompson, at 8 o'clock, plus independent candidate for the governor's race, Greg Orman, at 8:30. Kind of a big show. Kind of a big deal. Stay tuned here because this is where you get it. You're not going to get this kind of talk, this discussion, this kind of shenanigans anywhere else. This is your show. It's time to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. Keep your head high. Keep the fight going. Continue the march. You'll never take our freedom. And that's the way we are as conservatives. Don't let up, my friends. This is The Voice of Reason. Have a great Wednesday.